So welcome back to the Every Trade channel. I'm Chris. This channel is about behind the build of our construction company, our property company, our joinery company, and all the other businesses we're into, which is quite a lot. Since we've been doing these videos, we've had loads of requests of people asking us how we got to where we got to, how we've built what we've built. And I was going to wait and get so many subscribers before doing it. However, I thought it would provide perfect context to the other videos that we do. We release a weekly vlog of the sort of progress that we make week to week of our business. So this isn't a how-to video, this is a how we did it video. I'm not necessarily offering advice, I'm just going to tell the story. I'm going to tell our story because every business has a different story. So it won't be an ultra deep dive. If you want that, maybe we'll do that down the line, but I'm just going to take you on the roller coaster that has been our journey, starting with £240 in my bank account to now having a group of businesses worth £16 million. Let's go. So we're calling this section Why. So I was a serial underachiever at school. I was brought up on a council estate. I'm the oldest of 5 boys. My mum and dad got divorced when I was young, and I always felt this sort of responsibility to my brothers and my mum and my family. So that instilled something in me. However, I plodded my way through school, did okay, got an all right set of GCSE results. Long story short, I ended up at university and I did a degree in television production, which is something that I never set out to do, but it just kind of happened. It was something that I enjoyed, being creative, which is ironic because I'm now doing the YouTube thing. So then I ended up leaving uni and got a job at ITV, and I realised really quickly the way to get on in that industry is to put ideas out there and try and get the recognition of the people above you. I did that. I was quite well thought of and I thought I was on a good sort of trajectory to a really successful career. However, I got a call out the blue and it said, I'm pregnant, and I was going to become a dad at the age of 25. And that hit me like a bolt from the blue because in TV you get really short contracts, you've got no job security. So I thought, right, I'm going to need to do something here. I'm going to need to change up and give my child the life that I didn't have. I was just thinking for ages, what am I going to do? Like, you know, I was always into business. As always, my nickname at school was Del Boy. I always had little side hustles going. And I thought, oh, I know, I'll sell cars. So I took a day off with my uncle, Paul, who I'll talk to you more about later. And we went and bought a car from auction, did a little bit of work, sold it overnight, made £400 profit. And that kind of gave me the confidence to go, you know what, there is something in there. I could maybe make money away from having a normal job. And I was sat in traffic and I said to him, should we just start selling cars and I'll quit my job? And he was like, yeah. He was really quiet at the time. He was an electrician, general builder, but it was the recession and he had no work. So yeah, I gave my notice in. Week later, we were at the car auctions again, buying absolute bangers and trying to make money, but that didn't work. So pretty quickly we worked out that we knew nothing about cars and we didn't really have any startup money. We bought a car, head gasket blew up, we made a loss on it. We were left with £240. Literally, that's all I had to my name. So then we thought, well, what are we gonna do? And I said, well, why don't we set up a handyman business? I had this idea of building this company for years from working with my granddad when I was 10 in his garage. You could do everything, my granddad Jim. I thought, you know what, I could offer it out. I'm good at marketing, I thought I was anyway. I know how to sell, I thought I could anyway. And I'm gonna have this one company, Every Trade thing. So we thought we'd start off as like a handyman business and we called it the Domestic Genius, which is a bit of a weird name looking back. But the idea was that they would come to us for any trade because my uncle could do everything. He was an electrician, he could do plumbing, general building. And we said, all right, well, let's try and get into that. So I had 20 quid of the 240 and one of my friends was a printer and I gave him 20 quid and he printed us 1,000 leaflets. So we went out pushing these leaflets out. I had no contacts, we had nothing. And I remember like I had tears in my eyes. It makes me emotional thinking about it. When I knew I was going to be a dad and my daughter was going to be born in 3 months, I was thinking, oh, I need to make this a success. And I was delivering the leaflets, I was like, there's nowhere to go from here, nowhere. And I was already thinking about, well, I could get driving jobs. And I literally had no money. I remember, it was like all-time low looking back, that I actually went and got what's called a crisis loan from the I don't know where you got it from, like social security or something. I think I got like 600 quid just to pay the rent and things like that. And at the time, my girlfriend, she had a part-time job. She was at uni as well, and she was we were living off her money. I had nothing. And I remember thinking, like, I've got literally 220 quid now to my name. What am I going to do? I had a month. So yeah, and then as we were walking around delivering these leaflets, this guy came out and went, oh, do you do tip runs? And we were like, yeah, we didn't, but we knew someone that had a trailer. So then we got a job moving waste from his house for 25 quid a load, and we were just literally taking it to the domestic tip, which you're not going to do. And I thought, we're on our way, we've got a job. So then we just built from there, and then slowly but surely, people started ringing, we get the odd job. We were earning absolutely nothing, but we were on our way. So we're calling this part getting going. We were on our way, we had work coming in. The model was kind of proven, albeit we still had zero money, and I was still relying on my girlfriend at the time, her part-time job. But then all of a sudden, the phone would ring that little bit more, and it proved to me and my uncle, it was just me and him. I'd find the work and he'd do the work. It wasn't enough to sustain both our income, but it proved that there was something there. And what we had was this sort of naivety, which I think you need in the early days to keep going. Like, there was so many knocks and so many rejections at that early point, so little money going around, that if I did that now, I would probably just give up on it, even though I've seen it work. One day we got a call out the blue, and it was from a caretaker at school, and she'd got one of our leaflets. This is sort of 2009, 2010, and she said, oh, I've seen that you do handyman stuff, like your name, and do you do work in schools? And we said, yeah, why not? So we went in for a meeting. I remember my heart was pounding because I got really nervous. I had this imposter syndrome, and I think it comes from being a kid from a council estate right from the start. And I was really nervous, and I always felt like, oh, they're going to find us out. I was quite young at the time. I always looked quite young, albeit I'm aged now. And I thought, oh, they're going to look at me and think I shouldn't be there. And it was like, she was walking around the school, my uncle was making notes. It was like, shelves up there. Can you repair that, fix that tap? She goes, it's all little bits that we can't get our main contractor to do. We were like, yeah, it's fine. We did a whole list. We gave him a price. It was really cheap, a bit of fencing, and it was really cheap. And to give us the go-ahead, and we thought, oh my God, a school is actually now trusting us. And then we did the job in the school, did it really well. Don't think we made much money. And then she said, all right, do you do bigger stuff? And we hadn't, at that point, we'd never done a job bigger than that. And he said, yeah, we do this, we do that. And we sort of blagged it a little bit. And she said, oh, do you want to refurbish these two toilet blocks? And we were like, yeah, no problem. We didn't have, honestly, we had no tradesmen, it was just me and my uncle. And we put a price in, and we got it. So then we did that. And looking back now, I don't think the workmanship was great. We used sort of like a worktop one. We probably should have used a proper commercial worktop. But they were happy. We delivered on time. We pulled in the sort of family members to help. My dad, who was a general builder, wasn't in the business at the time, got involved. One of my uncles, Terry, got involved. And it was just a family firm. And at the time, it made me really proud, because I always felt that my family had this potential. They'd all worked with other people, never really sort of built their own business, was actually doing it now. And that idea that I had, this every trade idea, working with my granddad in his garage, was now coming to fruition, and we were away. And then we got a call from one of the teachers saying, oh, you've done a great job with the toilets there, do you want to come and do my bathroom? We did that, and again, we'd never done a bathroom. Remember, they sent a deposit of £1,500, and I thought it was like the most amount of money in the world. I was like, oh my God, 1,500 quid. I remember we went out and bought a scaffolding tower which we didn't need straight away, because I always thought, oh, I want to have a company that's got all the equipment, all the vans. I always knew at that early naive stage that this is what I wanted to build. So then I got a call on a Saturday, we started this bathroom, and it was a customer almost in tears saying, Chris, one of the tiles has fell and it smashed the bath to pieces, and my baby was in it. I was like, oh my God. I went, and yep, the tile which we propped up had fallen, and luckily the baby didn't get hurt, but we had to replace the bath. And straight away I thought, oof, this is a tough industry. However, the momentum was building. So we thought, you know what, let's go for it. And we got our very first van, which was a battered up Astra van. And I was so proud that I managed to drive around and I had the domestic genius written on the side. And I've talked about this in one of our Q&As where I was in Selco and I overheard some builders laughing and go, "Have you seen that van outside, domestic genius?" I was like, "Oh my God, that's embarrassing, that's my van." And he goes, "Who's this idiot?" I was like, "Oh, maybe I need to change the name." So, and we were working in the school, so we rebranded to TDG Contracts, which was the most boring name I could think of, but it kind of said, and it was TDG Contracts, one company, every trade. And the every trade bit stuck in my head the whole time. And then we went and got our first office, which was an old shop, and we were paying 300 quid a month rent on it. It was tiny, toilet downstairs, leaking, cold in the basement. I'd just sitting there. We didn't need a shop front, but we just knew that that's the direction we wanted to go in, and the momentum was moving. So this part is called traction. We finished the first year and we turned over 130 grand. Me and my uncle, my dad and my other uncle Terry helping out here and there, and a few subcontractors, people that I'd met from putting adverts out on Gumtree and things like that. Some people not very reliable, but I'd managed to find our first full-time subcontractor, our plumber, heating engineer called Tom, who's still with me to this day. And you could feel the momentum really pumping. We got a call out of the blue from our accountant and his house had burnt down. It was really bad actually. So we went and helped him board it up and stuff like that as a favour. And then he said, "Oh, would you be interested in tendering for the insurance reinstatement job?" And we were like, "Yeah, no problem." We'd done loads of stuff like this. We hadn't nothing like that. And we won the job. It was 150 grand to rebuild this house. And then I thought, oh my God, there's actually big numbers to be made here. So I really went for it. I put an ad on Gumtree again, because that's what you did at the time. I met more subcontractors. I took a guy on called Jonathan, who you've met previously. He has another company locally who I'm still friends with to this day. And I built a small team, about 5 or 6 full-time guys. We bought another couple of vans. We upgraded the office. We moved next door at one and got a slightly bigger office. And all the time, I was spending every penny we were making just putting it back into the business. And then I learned how to use Google AdWords. And that's when we went from there to there. Not there, about there. Basically, we had a website built and I was getting all these inquiries, and we were spending £150 a day at times, because I thought for every pound you spend on AdWords, you could probably make £3 or £4 back. And I was a bit scattergun. I didn't use an agency or anything. I just learned it myself, and we did. And we absolutely got so busy. And one day I got a phone call that changed everything. So the title of this section is Growing Pains. We're about 3 years in now, and we were flying, or so I thought. We got a phone call from a student housing provider, and they said, "Oh, we need a maintenance company in Manchester, can you help?" So the 2 guys at the time came up from London, had a meeting with me, and the idea was we were going to maintain their properties, not do anything bigger than that, fix leaking taps, be on call. We agreed a set of rates which was far too cheap, but we had basically our first recurring customer. So we started with them. We tried our hardest to do a good job. We were always going, anytime they called, we'd go and do it. We were really fair on prices, and that then upped the volume of work we were getting. So I decided to take on more men and get more vans. And then we started attracting other customers from letting agents, and I thought, oh, we're actually going to be a maintenance company. And then I noticed that we would get loads of inquiries for gas. I'd had Tom, my tradesman, my heating engineer. So we went and got our gas safe registration. We started doing gas safety checks, new boilers, boiler service, and all of a sudden we were becoming this one source solution for every trade. Now this is before the real onset of social media. That was further down the line. But then things just started not working out. We never seemed to have enough money. We always seemed to have cash flow problems. I remember we got an overdraft with the bank, and it started off as £1,000, went to 10 grand, and then went to 25 grand, which is the maximum they give you without offering up any sort of security. And at the time, I had no security to give. You know, I lived in a rented flat. I was living a bit of the high life, but I wasn't quite building any wealth, but I was having fun, and we were turning over £800,000, but something just wasn't working. Paul, my uncle, who I started the business with, we were having differences, because I felt that whilst all this sort of crisis was happening, I was really infused trying to get us going and trying to get it back right and trying to fix the problem, where he just really wanted a 9-to-5 job. So the differences were emerging then. And one day, Paul sat down and said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So I said, well, I'll buy you out. And I didn't have any money to buy him out. And he was like, why, how much are you offering? And at the time, we didn't really have a value to the business. It wasn't really making money, even though we were doing decent turnover and things like that. But I thought, well, I don't know, what would you want? And a figure came into my head, which I thought was not small enough to be insulting, but was big enough to sort of tempt him, but it was something I could probably pull together. And he accepted. And I remember I didn't have that money, and I had a credit card, and I did a cash withdrawal on my credit card into my bank account and paid him with that. So at that point there, I owned 50% of the company with my dad. My dad had the other 50%. That's how I did the deal. I gave the rest of the shares to my dad and split it 50-50 with my dad. That was when I realised that it was all on me. One Christmas, I came back and I thought, you know, I'm in charge now. I can do whatever I want. And I opened the mail and we had a bill for 17k from the VAT, which we didn't have money for. And I wasn't really keeping an eye on the figures in them days. And then we had all the suppliers' bills which had come due. And we literally had minus 10k in the bank. So I thought, oh my God, people saying, look, Chris, admit defeat, it's over. Just, you know, start again. But I was like, no, I've built this. I've built a reputation. I've got these great customers now. I'm doing it. I've finally got control of the company. And I remember thinking, it was in the shower at this moment, a client thought, no, this is on me. I've got to sort this. So I maxed out all my credit cards. I got new credit cards. I paid the VAT and the suppliers, which is such a risky move looking back. And I set up a weekly payment plan to all my credit cards and paid it off. But I knew that it wasn't right and I had to change the business around. This section is called leveling up. So now I had control of the business. My dad was a shareholder, but it was essentially my business. My uncle had left. He was the person that would price up all the work. He was the estimator. He would quantity survey. He would tell me what materials we needed. He'd be my technical support for the business, but he'd gone. I tried my hardest to find someone. I had a few people coming on crazy money, but they just weren't right because it wasn't their business. So again, I had another moment of clarity, and I think this is one of the most important things in my career, was I thought, I'm gonna have to learn all this. I'm gonna have to become the expert, the estimator, the quantity surveyor, the person that gets us out of technical issues. So I immersed myself in every single book. I went on Amazon, I bought every book, a book on damp, a book on structural work, a book on building. I'd speak to everybody I knew that was in the game and sort of act dumb, even though I was really basically dumb, and learn everything I could, and I absorbed it. I then realised that to price jobs, I'd need to price it like a quantity surveyor. So I didn't necessarily need to walk into a room and know how long something would take, but if I could measure something and take pictures, I could go away and work out how to price it. So then I built myself calculators and Excel sheets on how to price. So we did a lot of painting at the time. So go in a room and I'd measure it and I'd go and bang these numbers into my Excel sheet that I'd made. It'd tell you exactly how much paint you needed, how much labour, how long it'd take, what profit to put on. And we'd win more and more work, and the momentum got going more and more. We started working for housing associations, more commercial landlords, and then we started building extensions, and I started thinking, you know what, this could be really good. And then I discovered social media. I started on Facebook and I used to post every day, just telling the story. And then late to the game, I discovered Instagram. And again, all I would do was show the work before, show the work after, show what went wrong, show what went right. And then Kieran came into the business full time and we really got going. We took on more men, more vans. I realized the idea was to keep the men interested and keep them sort of there full time, feeling like it was a sort of a full time job, even though they were on subcontract, was to give them a brand new van, was to give them uniform, was to pay them weekly, and everything was just going. And we were back up, and then we turned over about 1.5 million. So in my head, we'd gone from 130 grand to 1.5 million, but I thought, no, this is a £5 million company. It could be a £10 million company. So we went even more for it, and with the social media, it just grew and grew and grew, and we started taking things much more serious. So the title of this part is called Nearly Losing It All, part 1. So we were flying. The student company I was talking about called me out of the blue and they said, do you do bigger stuff? Because you're doing a really great job on the maintenance side for us. And we were like, oh yeah, we've done loads of student HMO refurbishment. We hadn't done one at the time. And they gave us a chance to tender on some big projects in Leeds. And I thought, well, I'll have to price it. I looked at trying to get estimates to price it. No one could really do it. I couldn't really afford for anyone to do it. So I remember staying up till 2 a.m. for 5 nights solid, pricing these tenders. And it was like 400K's worth of work, which was more work than we've ever done. So anyway, we did it, smashed it. We were flying. We got the next phase straight after, which was like 300K, smashed it. So we were turning over 2 and a bit million. Bear in mind, we'd come from £240. So I was like, wow. And things like that, successes, all they do is feed my ambition and wants to go more and more. So then one day I bumped into a guy that knew somebody, quite a smooth operator. And he said to me, oh, do you do high-end stuff? And I was like, yeah, we do high-end stuff. He's like, well, I've been approached by a couple of people to do some houses and extensions for high net worth individuals down south. And I was like, okay, yeah. He said, would you partner up? And the idea was he'd win the work, he'd run it, he'd help me bring in the good subcontractors, but we'd fund it and we'd essentially do it under our name. So we went for it and we won some very big work, over £1 million worth of extensions. I'm talking like £500,000 for a single story extension for very wealthy people. Long story short, he ripped me off. He was basically having me off at every turn, and I had a choice. I got a phone call from one of the customers and said, look, we're going to take you to court. And I was like, what? I thought it's all great. And they're like, no, you need to understand, you need to get down here and understand that this guy's been having you off and us off. So I went down, I remember I went down on my birthday, and yeah, it was a disaster. Things weren't finished right. We'd paid for, but I thought, deposits and stuff that had not actually been ordered. He'd pocketed the money, and we were really in the hole. And I made a decision there and then with my dad. I was like, right, we need to get this over the line because it's my reputation. I can't leave these people like this, that deal with this. So then every single one of them jobs, and there was 4 in total, we finished. I ended up living down south for the best part of 2 months, just trying to get them over the line, just driving it, doing all sorts. And I borrowed heavily to finish it, and we finished those jobs. And at the end of it, the customers were absolutely, most of them were made up. One of them didn't thank us and tried to chip us 50 quid for a drive when they had a £7,000 toilet roll holder. However, that's a different story. But we finished it, we didn't get sued, and our reputation was intact. But I nearly lost everything, and it took me 2 years and so much stress to get over that. And the business nearly didn't survive, but we did. So we're calling this section Going Big. So I delivered those jobs, I'd survived, and after getting over the emotional trauma, I had this sort of naive sense of confidence that I could do anything because I'd won all this work. It was really profitable. I'd nearly lost everything and pulled it back from the brink. So I thought, you know what, I'm onto something here. And what coincided with all that was I was absolutely loving what I was doing. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. My dad and I had realised that it probably wasn't right, me and him being partners, and he just really wanted a job. And I was putting him under a lot of pressure to try and keep up with my work rate and my ambition. It just wasn't for him. So I did a deal with my dad and I bought his share. So I was now 100% shareholder of the company, and I thought, right, I'm having it. So we moved premises to where we are today. KTM, I gave him more power. He was basically running the heating side of the business. I took on office staff. I got up to nearly 60 men and 40 vans, and I realised again how to keep these men happy was to give them really nice brand new vans. And I also learned how to finance things and finance vans. So we were flying. We had what was basically the biggest independent building contractor in the north in terms of manpower and sort of reach. We won our first £1 million job for the student company, and we did a fantastic job. We delivered 34 apartments in Liverpool in a really tight period of time. Everyone was really happy, made really good profit, and I thought, you know what, I've made it, I've done it. And then COVID hit, and that's when we thought, oh God, this could be it. And like everyone else, we were sat there thinking, what we're going to do. Obviously, we could crack on, but we had to really scale the work back. A lot of the sites didn't want us back because they were worried. So during that time there, I had some deep sort of reflection, and I thought, am I enjoying this? Like, no, actually quite like the idea of it being quiet. I was really disillusioned. You know, I wasn't getting pecked by tradesmen who were unhappy and prima donnas, and, you know, I kept my core team busy and they were great, and I thought, I felt a bit stagnated, and I got a text message. So this part is called Alex. Like I say, out of the blue, I got this text from a property developer I think I'd swapped numbers with a couple of years ago. His name was 𝗕𝗨𝗟𝗗 from Liverpool, and he said, oh, I've seen your stuff on Facebook because I posted that £1 million job on there. He said, that's really good. I'm at a point in my journey now where I've done my first few developments, but I've done them all myself. I want to get a builder on board and try and, you know, sort of scale up and go big. So we met, and I was like, oh, I've just been in Liverpool for years. Like, I'd literally done lots of stuff in Liverpool. Like, my guys were getting a bit fatigued, and I thought, oh, I don't really want to do it. But he was persistent with me, and I'm so glad he was. And we did a couple of projects together for him. So we were the building contractor, and we actually didn't do a very good job. And Alex ended up really having to step in, because now I know Alex like I know Alex. He finds it very hard to let people get away with things. He's got very high standards, and he really sort of wasn't happy with the way we were performing. Now, you think we'd fall out, but I owned the situation and said, look, mate, I'm really sorry. I just can't get the manpower there. Let's just get these jobs over the line together. And I think I reduced the price a little bit and things like that. And we'd go down every Wednesday. We'd have a walk around the job, but we'd end up getting deep and talking about ideas. And that kind of progressed for a bit. We finished them jobs, and then he said, do you want to do a house together? You know, we'll fund it together and we'll do it together. So we did that, and this is all sort of under the backdrop of COVID, and that was going away, and we were working great together. We really enjoy working together. We bounced off each other, and then we had a coffee one day, and he said, would you be interested in sort of selling some of episide, as we were now being called, because social media sort of didn't lend itself to TDG contracts. We came up with the brand episide, that bit that always stuck in my mind, and then that was flying, that side of things. I was like, yeah, you know, I think we would turn over a couple of million. I think we were probably on track to do more. And I thought, do I want to sell the company? It took me ages to get sort of ownership of it. You know, my dad and my uncle, and that was quite stressful. You know, I fell out with both of them during that process and then made up with them. I was like, yeah, I mean, I maybe. I said, I'll give it some thought. All COVID, all this time to think. And I said no a couple of times, and then one day I thought, you know what, it might be interesting having a business partner, someone that I've actually feel responsible to. So I did a deal with Alex to sell 50% of episide, and that was hard, and we did it, and I had more money than I've ever had in my life, and I thought, God, what do I want to do? And I thought, I've got all this money now, I'm quite comfortable. I wasn't well off enough to retire, but I could have bought any car I want. I could have done whatever I wanted, but that isn't me. And I said to my wife, I was like, do you remember that house that was on the market? And again, this is during COVID, and it was on a road where I'd done my paper round when I was young, and I used to deliver papers to all these houses, and I used to daydream thinking, hey, if I ever make it, I'm gonna live on this road. And it was where I was from, near where I was from anyway. It wasn't where I was from, it was near where I was from. And this house came on the market, and it had actually had a sold sign on it. I thought, and my wife was like, well, no, it's not going to work. So I put a letter through their letterbox and said, look, I know that you've sold your house, and I don't want you to gazump someone. However, if there's ever an issue, give me a call. I'm willing to pay over the asking price. Didn't hear anything. Then 2 weeks I got a call from the agent saying, oh, did you put your letter through this door? I said, they're actually struggling. The people that are going to buy it have to delay because their house, because of COVID, won't sell, and they're moving up from London. And long story short, it went to sealed bids, and I bidded about 35 grand over the asking price, and it was accepted, and I ended up buying my dream house on my dream road. And I thought, that's it, I'd made it. So this part is called Nearly Losing It All, part 2. So Alex was now my business partner. It took a while to get the deal over the line, but we did it and we learned loads. Essentially, we agreed on a figure that I was willing to sell for and he was willing to pay. And after we did that negotiation, which was quite easy, we did all the legal stuff, got it done. We thought, right, let's do it. And then COVID had finished. We had more work than we'd ever had, more inquiries than we'd ever got, which a lot of you guys will remember. It just went bananas after COVID. But something had changed. Materials were so expensive. Labour, everybody, because the demand was so high, wanted a pay rise. And we tried to keep our core guys and we offered out pay rises. But we were on jobs that we'd priced pre-COVID, but honouring prices post-COVID, and it nearly wiped us out. The price of steel at one point had gone up 300%. We were on a big, large HMO project in Stockport, and we delivered it, but we lost 70k on the job. It would have been cheaper to give the customer 69k and said, look, go and get someone else to do it. We would have been a grand better off, but we kept going. And what that forced us to do was to look at the business, roots and branches. This is where Alex is amazing. He looked at every single penny. We looked at all aspects of the business. We got rid of bad labour, deadwood. This is bad, but that's what it was. Negative emotional vampires that just literally don't contribute anything positive to what you do and not good at a time of crisis. And we shrunk the business back. We introduced systems. We introduced better ways of doing things, better processes, purchase ordering systems, checks and balances for the business. Sometimes the best things come out of nearly losing it all. Eventually it settled and we were ready to go again. This part is called property. So Alex and I had settled the business down. We'd put key people in place. We got rid of the emotional vampires and we worked out actually what made us profitable. We set the construction company on a path of steady organic growth. We weren't forcing the growth like I'd done in the early days. So what we then decided to do was focus on other ways of growing the company and growing the group of companies. And obviously with Alex's background, we decided to really drill down on property. So then we decided to go out and buy as many HMOs or potential HMOs as we could. And we went on a buying rampage and we bought nearly 16. We went big on it. So we've grown the property thing now. Now what we've done with that, we've got it to a point now where the rent roll is big, but we don't take a single penny out of it because we're constantly trying to grow that side of the business. And it's great owning a construction company that feeds a property company is one of the best plays you can do because you get things at cost, you can be nimble, you're not reliant on anyone, you are responsible for your own projects, and that has enabled us to really scale that up to a point where we want probably 50 HMOs, other sort of property deals under our belt, but we just can't fund them fast enough because we're self-funding. We've got a couple of investors, some of our tradesmen invest, and they've got a couple of sort of external, but we're very fussy about who we work with because we want to work with like-minded people. But the idea with the property thing running alongside the cash flowing construction thing is that the property will give us freedom later on in our careers, the point where we can go, you know what, we don't necessarily want to work day to day in our operational businesses, we want to live off the property side. So that is now running alongside our construction business. So as I mentioned, we've got the construction on a good path of growth now. We've got our property strategy in place, and that will hopefully sort us out in retirement. So Alex and I were looking at the business group as a whole and saying, how can we add more revenue? How can we grow the business in a way that one bit is supporting the other bit, but also growing opportunities going forward? And that's when we thought, let's try and acquire businesses with synergy to what we're already doing. So we were already buying staircases, timber windows for our own projects and for the build projects. So an opportunity came up to buy Preferred Joinery, which is a bespoke joinery company based in Liverpool. It's been going for 27 years. It's already really successful in its own right. Those of you who watch our weekly videos will have seen the kind of work we turn out. So we managed to do a deal and acquire our first business. This is a great and exciting opportunity for us and something we want to replicate time and time again. So the idea is we'll buy smaller companies that feed our other companies and become customers to each other, but with synergy and loads of upside potential. Together they'll be performing in their own right, but collectively with the other companies we own, we'll make a strong group that serves the construction industry. So where are we now? Well, the construction company is purring over really nicely. We're adding new services like a mechanic service. So the idea was we were spending lots of money on external mechanics. We've now brought that in-house, and we're also looking after other people's vehicles. We've added a grab and aggregate side of the business. So again, we were spending money on grabs. We now do our own grabs and recycle the material and then sell the material out with primary aggregates to our other friends in the industry and other builders. So we're just going to tinker the machine here and there and grow it organically. We're turning over about £5 million. Preferred is turning over just over £1 million. We're going to add a CNC machine to that. We're going to basically up the capacity, attract more staff and spread that nationally if possible. We've now also got our property portfolio up to £10 million worth of stock, which is a nice place to be, but we're not stopping yet. To the construction company, we've added a full-time estimator, a full-time architectural technician, we've got project managers, we've got a whole back office. So the idea is we can take on any project from concept to completion, all in-house. So it's exciting, and sometimes I can't believe what we've built. So that is how we turn £240 into a £16 million business empire. Maybe it sounds a bit grand, call it an empire, but to us, to me, this is my empire, this is my baby, this is my life's work, and I feel like we're just getting started. But that's it about business. Everyone has got their own story, everyone started somewhere, and that is so important. You have to start. So I hope that this story inspires at least one person to make their start. Get an idea and take action, because an idea without action is like a car without wheels. We're getting going. This YouTube thing has been amazing, and it's enabled me to tell the story and actually reflect on the journey. It's been quite cathartic really, because it has been a long journey, a hard journey with so many lows, probably more lows than highs, but I love every minute of it. And that's when I know when enough is enough. When I stop enjoying it, when I stop love coming into work, that's when I'll stop. I hope you've liked this little story, this 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓 of YouTube that I've gone into. If you want to hear more, if you want to learn more about our business and our story, bang it in the comments. We could actually go so much deeper into it, but I'm conscious that I'm taking up too much of your time. If you like what you're seeing, you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Also, just like this video. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Click here to watch last week's episode. Click here and here for other good content just like this, and click here to subscribe to the channel.